holidays, sleepiness, and we're really, really happy to be here. It's close to home. We love coming here.
Close to home, how far is home?
Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Okay, so not bad. So a whole whopping hour, 10-minute plane flight.
Something like that.
Only an hour in the air, but then you got the gate thing.
There's that. Yeah.
Taxiing.
Please be here 2 hours early. Did you guys come out of LAX?
We came out of Burbank. It was a lot easier.
Good choice. Good choice. LAX is horrible.
And we've been flying internationally and doing a lot of crazy trips this year, so this is heaven.
I know.
So
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, you guys. Yeah, thanks for having us back here.
Yeah.
Oh, we love having you guys. I mean, Cowboy Bebop, the classic. And then, of course, you guys pretty much do just about everything. I mean...
Not yet. We're trying.
Trying.
As long as they let us, we'll do as much as we can.
Yeah.
No, man, I love Cowboy Bebop. Just finished not too long ago doing Mortal Kombat 11.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but Scorpion's my norm. But I do approve. I do play Sub-Zero.
There will be repercussions.
Cetrion can kick your butt.
And honestly, I'm a huge Transformers fan. So your rendition of Starscream is...
Oh, thank you. You have excellent taste. Don't tell Megatron.
Yes. So I mean, this panel's pretty much for you guys. We have a microphone here, so if you want to ask questions of Steve and Mary, please, by all means, come on up and form a line, nice and orderly, and we can get questions going. But what have you guys been up to in the meantime? I mean, holidays, sleepiness, all that aside. I mean, where's life at right now?
Life is good. I've been directing a lot, so She-Ra, I hope you guys are watching She-Ra and the Princesses of Power because it's an awesome show. And Tangled, we're getting ready to start season 3 of Tangled, or mid-season, and we're mid-season 3 on Tangled. And Star Wars Resistance is happening. It's awesome, and just really, really busy. Dragons, Rescue Riders, all kinds of stuff. So Carmen Sandiego season 2 is coming out. And
yes.
Lots of stuff.
Sounds like busy is an understatement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes the holiday is very short, and we need a little extra time. But
yeah, we did everything we could not to do anything for the holidays. It was really busy. I'm in a new Tom body now for Toonami. So for those of you who watch Toonami, thank you for sticking with us all these years. Body feels pretty good. Got some new parts and some weaponry. It's pretty badass so far, and hopefully I'll get to use some of it this season. That'll be fun. Just was announced a couple days ago. There's a new show on Netflix called Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts, and I do play a pretty major character in that, and I can't talk about what that is yet, but I at least get to say I'm in it, and I'm really excited. It's a beautiful show and really different, and the music is awesome. It's amazing. And I've been teaching for the last year and a half. I've been teaching online. It's called Blumvox Studios. If you guys are interested in learning voiceover, come check it out at our table. I have cards there and lots of information for you. So that's been taking up all of my time lately. But it's amazing. I had to learn how to teach. So in the process, I think we got something pretty good happening there. So and you can do it from anywhere in the world, too. You can do it on one of these. One of my students does it from an alley in Liverpool at 4:30 in the morning for every class. So if he can do it, anybody can.
Yeah.
Right on. That's awesome. I'm going to go check that out, too.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
I'd love to be a voice actor, just, like everybody else, right? Everybody wants to be a voice actor, right? I want to voice cartoons, too.
Yeah.
Well, what's amazing about Steve's class is that it's not just about becoming a voice actor, because it's kind of a limited thing to be able to do if you're not where they do it, but it's really about finding your voice too in your own life and having confidence and speaking your truth. So it's there's really something deeper in there than just voice acting. So I highly recommend it.
And being okay with your creativity, because everybody is born with superpowers, I believe, and the class is really about just exploring that and finding that superpower in the context of a voiceover class. And you learn all the things about voiceover too, but it really is about empowerment and getting that monkey off your shoulder that tells you can't do something. Because you can. I'm here to say you can. So
that's cool. Yeah. Way more than that's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Should we take some questions?
Does anybody?
All right. Come on up to the microphone, you guys.
Please.
We're ready for you.
Don't stand on ceremony. It's 2020. This is 2020.
Yes.
All right, first off, I love your work, both of yours. It's amazing. I love your voice. Your singing voice is amazing, too.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask, what are some of your favorite characters you've done, past, present, future, if you're allowed to say that?
Oh, man.
Well, there are so many. It's hard to pick a favorite but there are some that have been very influential in our lives, and I think for both of us, Cowboy Bebop was huge. It was my first directing job and Steve's first lead. And I fell so in love with Steve as Spike that I knew when Julia was going to come, I was like, I'm playing her. I don't care what she sounds like. If she sounds like Minnie Mouse, I'm going to play her. So that was a huge point because that got me out of on camera and into voiceover. And then the Major from Ghost in the Shell was like the first strong female character that I'd ever played. I think in anime, a lot of the female characters are victims. At least they were when I first started out. And she was the first one that was just so kick-ass and awesome and still conflicted in many areas. So I love the Major from Ghost in the Shell. Singing in the Silent Hill stuff was fantastic. And then Zara on Critical Role just sort of changed everything. You know, I mean, all of a sudden I discovered nerddom, real, true, amazing D&D fantasy nerddom at the age of so it was great. What about you, Baba?
Bebop was the one that changed my life in every way, and I didn't know it at the time. We were just working on another anime at the time, and there was something about that show that was different. The quality of it was evident right away before we even got our throats around it. And I mean, ultimately, I got to be with the girl in the show. You know, I don't know how that happened, but 21 years later, we're a couple now. That's amazing.
Yeah, we're engaged.
I got my Julia. I mean, that's pretty cool.
We're gonna get married.
Yeah, put a ring on that and everything. But yeah, there's so many characters that that one changed my life in every possible way. But Wolverine was kind of a childhood fantasy come true to get to play a character that I love so much. Starscream, of course, because I love Transformers.
Guilmon from Digimon.
I love playing him just because he was an innocent character, and most of my characters were usually brutally murdering other characters. So it was kind of fun to play something I could show to my kids. That was great. And then in the gaming universe, probably most recently Sub-Zero, Grunt, and Ogren, I guess. And then anything in the Star Wars universe. Getting to work in the Star Wars universe is still a thrill. I've gotten to work on 3 of the movies now, and Star Wars Rebels, and most of the games.
And Resistance.
And Resistance, yeah. Got beaten up and dragged around a lot in Resistance.
I guess.
But a gig's a gig, you know, I'll take it. But thank you for even caring. I really appreciate it, man.
Thank you so much.
Happy
My
New
pleasure.
Year.
Like, I gotta say, I mean, I just recently started catching up on Rebels because of just the whole Star Wars thing in general. I love Star Wars, and it's absolutely amazing how many voices you do in that show. Yeah. Just random guy number 2. Hey, I got this, and it's like, it's Steve again. Oh, there's Steve again, and again. It's like I'm surprised the voice cast just isn't Steve Blum.
Well, because they know I'll do anything. I'm a voiceover. I'll literally do anything.
Yeah.
So I have 2 questions for both of you, and then 1 question for Mary.
Okay.
Have you ever played the games whose franchise you've lent your voice to pre and or post the voice recording? And then Mary, you had mentioned that you do voice for directing, notably for She-Ra. What is that process like compared to doing the voiceover itself?
Well, we'll start with directing. Directing is really fun because I've spent so much time on one side of the glass behind a mic. So now to be on the other side of the glass, you go from, as an actor, being sort of hyper-focused in a moment to being a director who has to be hyper-focused on the moment and the big picture. So you've got to have cameras or eyes on where the character is going and where the story is going so that you can carve out a cohesive arc to lead us from the beginning to the end of a story per episode.
Kind of like engineering the performance in per se.
Yeah, it's my job to guide them because voice acting is interesting. You're basically in a padded room, either talking to a TV if you're doing anime or ADR, or nothing, and it's just you, a director, a producer, and an engineer. And so it's my job to give them context, to place them in the world. It's almost like they're standing on a green screen, and it's my job to be the projector, you know, to give them the world for them to respond to. And I also do I read everything in Tangled, I read with every single actor. Everything in She-Ra, if the other actor wasn't there, I act with every character, every actor that came in, because I believe as a director, having been an actor, acting is basically, in its basic essence, listen, respond in a very specific context. So it's my job to give them something to listen and respond to, so I end up acting with all the actors as a director, and then we tweak the performances from there, or do pickups. So, but some shows, it's a full cast record, which is really nice. I did a show, Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, for Warner Brothers, and we had the entire cast in a room, so it was my job to sort of wrangle the cats and herd them into position.
Babysitter.
And, slight babysitter. But then to give them tweaks, because some actors are just only read their lines, and context is king. You need to know where you are, why you're there, and where you're going from there. So that's my job.
And have you played any of the games you're in? The other question was about playing our own games.
The other question was, have you ever played any of the video games whose franchise you've lent your voice to pre or post the voice recording?
Yeah.
Would that mean we'd be playing with ourselves?
Pre or post as in playing it before you got a gig for that franchise.
No.
Yeah, I never played really. I didn't play a lot of video games anyway, just because I didn't have a lot of time. And when I did, it was back in the days where there were far fewer buttons, because the learning curve for me was just brutal. But I played I think there were only 2 games that I really played start to finish back in the day, and one was Pitfall, because I got to play Pitfall Harry, and I thought that was awesome in the remake of that. And then Crash Nitro Kart, because I got to play Crash Bandicoot. It was the one and only time. And
nice.
And it was really, I have to admit, it was really fun playing the game and watching myself go, that was awesome.
Just don't let the woe memes haunt you, man.
Yeah, dude, that was really fun. But then, when the bigger games started coming out, I tried, and my kids are big gamers, and I would sit with them, and they'd have to play me to the level where my bosses show up, so I could even see what they sounded like in context. I think the last time I tried it was God of War, as I played Ares in that, the original God of War, and I just got hammered. I couldn't make it through more than 5 minutes of that. So.
Yeah, I just picked up MK9 before they got you in on the gig, and I just got whipped real hard.
Yeah, I was humiliated.
Yeah, I need easy playthroughs. I don't do it very well. I remember watching somebody play Silent Hill because I was too scared. Because Silent Hill was so great. The sound design was you could only see as far as your flashlight or lighter was in front of you. So you had all of these sounds and you didn't know what they were. So you got to create something very personally terrifying by not seeing what it was. And then, of course, Pyramid Head walks in at that point. I was out of the room. So I'm a big chicken. I liked mystery games in the old days. I liked Mist Riven Exile and The Seventh Guest, and then I just got busy. So it's hard. Plus, I find I have an addictive personality, and we got the PS4 started, and there was some D&D type game, and I played for 8 hours straight, and I was like, okay, I need to put this down and put it away because I have so much work that I need to do. So.
Yeah, that was my problem too. Back in the day, when I first started working on games, I would play games like The Dig from LucasArts for 12, 14 hours at a time. I wouldn't eat, I wouldn't poop. I'd be just this sweaty, gross, nasty thing and realize that the whole day had gone by. Yeah. So I can't do that anymore. I just don't have that kind of time. So thank God you guys play our games. Thank you.
And thank God for whoever does the YouTube walkthroughs and just the clips. It's like, I really want to play The Last of Us, but I'm like, dead.
Yeah, those have saved my butt on multiple occasions, so I know how you feel.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
So if you two don't mind sharing, do you mind sharing on how you two met each other?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
On Cowboy Bebop, actually. The first time we met, she was directing. It was my first lead role. And I walked into a room. It was Mary Elizabeth, the engineer, and maybe one other person, Utaka. And I was scared to death. It was my first leading role, and I didn't think I was ready for it. And she was cool. She was just this really amazing, confident, wonderful, brilliant lady who was very gentle with me in a time that I needed guidance. I needed a lot of guidance. And she really helped me to learn the art of voice acting through that show. Even more so, I had been working in the industry for a little while, but that show I really had to learn how to act in a different way. So.
Well, it was such a different tone. It was so naturalistic, and a lot of anime is very heightened. and larger than life. And the thing about Bebop is that it was very westernized. It was very cinematic in its acting style. So at the time, there was no Toonami, there was no Adult Swim. So I thought, well, nobody's ever going to see this. I don't know what I'm doing. So let's wing it and make something that we would want to see, something that we would enjoy, because it was so beautiful. It was really ours not to mess up. So there's something to be said for not having any clue of what you're doing and just relying on instinct sometimes. And that's how we met.
Yeah, and we became friends after that, and she directed me on probably 100 different projects over the years.
Because I crushed on you, and I had to have you on the shows. That was all.
But I didn't know. I was just stupid.
No.
So,
We were both involved with other people,
Yeah.
so it's just like I can't cheat.
Yeah,
but I also like you, so I want you there. Plus, you're an
Yeah.
amazing actor, so you made my job
Well,
really
that's
easy.
true. I understand.
That's
your
after I
fascination.
taught you how to do
my
it.
skill sets, yes. She just wanted to make sure I didn't share that with anybody else. So. Yeah, but it seems to have worked out.
Yeah.
We found ourselves single after many years in long-term relationships, and the universe just kept throwing us together over and over again. And finally, we just said yes.
Yes. I am the universe.
You are now, honey.
Yes, baby.
You're my
Yes,
world.
Baba.
She's my world.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you. Happy New Year.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Nice shirt.
So, yes, clearly I'm a huge Cowboy Bebop fan.
Woohoo!
And so back to that topic. Steve, as you're acting, and Mary, with your directing, what were the key things that you focused on during the translation from Cowboy Bebop Japanese to an American audience? What were the things that you wanted to highlight and nail to get the space western that we eventually got?
Oh.
Subtlety, nuance. There's one thing about voice acting at times. It can be very loud and very big and almost sort of da-da-da, and I just wanted it to sound like a movie. I wanted it to sound like, I think for me, the greatest stories are about ordinary people put into extraordinary circumstances, and we meet them at the beginning, and they've got all their onion peel on top of them, and as the series went on, we got to slowly peel away and really get into the essence of who they are, and the way that Watanabe-san did it in the show wasn't big and bold and blah. It was small and quiet and nuanced. There was a lot of the big stuff, but for me, the most interesting character development for Spike and Faye, and Bo, really, Jet, was just the quiet moments. And the show let these moments breathe. So I wanted it to be as nuanced as possible, you know?
Plus, you brought that musicality to Edward that I thought was amazing.
Oh, we had so much fun.
Yeah, which didn't really. It did to some degree exist in the original Japanese, but Melissa Fahn came in and just started doing these amazing songs as Edward, and it changed the character, I think, dramatically from the original version, and just brought that character to life for me. But my initial input on the show was basically just not to screw it up. I was terrified. I literally felt like I was going to poop myself for the first 4 or 5 episodes. I was terrified to take a lead role in something that beautiful. So fortunately, it worked out.
Yeah, it's always interesting because there are differences in culture as well. So the Japanese goofiness might be more heightened than our goofiness, or our goofiness may be more heightened than the Japanese. So it was fun to sort of translate from one culture very easily into Western culture because it was such a westernized show to begin with. It's basically a love letter to spaghetti westerns, to blaxploitation, to science fiction, to all these different movie genres that Watanabe-san had given us. So that episode Toys in the Attic is basically, I remember the middle of the episode is like, I feel like I'm directing 2001 and Alien mashed together. You know, it's just this amazing, so, you know, for you to be chasing after something in the ducts, and the subtlety of that beautiful moment of the refrigerator just, you know, circling in space at the end, leaking out this Ganymede rock lobster thing.
Yeah.
It was, but for me, it was about the characters. What was really nice, I just finished season 2 of Lost in Space, and what I love about that series is that it's very character driven, and to find a series that is so character driven and not relying so much on effects and everything else, it's very westernized in that part.
Cool.
So.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Thank you. See you, Space Cowboy.
Bang. Hi.
Morning.
Morning.
First of all, I just want to say I love your guys' work.
Thank you.
Guys' work. Especially you, Steve. I love how the majority of your roles is just your natural voice. There's no need to tune it up or change it that much.
I don't know how that happened. I'm grateful though. It's the only superpower I have.
When it said that you were coming to this con, it said that you've been put in the Guinness Book of World Records. So I was just curious on how many roles have you done overall?
Oh man, that's an impossible question for me. I didn't even know how many roles I had done for the record. When Guinness approached me about that, I had to sit with my agent for 4 months and go through my own IMDb just to figure out if the information they had was correct. And I'm still not sure if I know there are a bunch of missing ones. And it's impossible to count how many characters because there are games, for instance, like a lot of the LucasArts games, back in the day, the Star Wars games, where I would come in and I would do 26 characters in a 4-hour session. And they didn't really have names necessarily. So each one of those had a different personality, a different role, and they deserve their own credit, I think, and sometimes those things weren't credited, so that they're in the thousands now. I have no idea what that number is.
Holy.
I've been doing it for 30 years, so I never expected to build a career on this at all. It was a side fun thing that I did. It was more of a hobby than anything else. I really had no intention of becoming famous for it or even making a living at it. Thank God I'm making a living at it now, and the fame is just enough to feed the ego for a couple days, and then I go home and nobody knows me again, and I'm cleaning the cat box. But I never really paid attention to the number of roles, and a lot of our colleagues are really focused on getting awards, and that's not even something I care about either. You have to submit yourself to be considered for a lot of these awards. It's just not something that's in my consciousness. I just want to go in and do a really good job. So, but thank you for that. I appreciate it, man.
I want the glory. No, I'm kidding.
You're a good person.
I'm yin and yang in here. It's all good. It's all good.
The best there is at what you do, okay?
Okay.
Okay. And what you do is pretty nice.
Bub.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi. Dang it. So Mary, I love your Cornelia. Like, she's my favorite character you've ever done.
Thank you.
So
all hail Britannia.
Exactly.
Woo-hoo!
Thank you. So I was really happy when I realized you were coming. Nothing against Julia, obviously, but Code Geass came first for me, and then I watched Cowboy Bebop because friends were like, "You need to watch it."
Did you see the most recent Code Geass movie?
I was there for the dub, and I was like, "It's happening," and I watched it and was like, "What?"
I was so sick. Cornelia had a cold that entire movie. We did it all in one sitting, and I said, well, at least we're doing it all in one day because I was very nasal that day.
Oh my goodness!
So
it turned out really wonderful. So
good.
Congrats. I do have a question for both of you. What is your favorite obscure role that you've ever done? So the roles that are not as popular, or roles that most people don't know, so when they come up to you at like an autograph session, you're like, oh my god, you know this role.
I played Granny Frog, who sat on Jiraiya's shoulder.
Yes!
And that was amazing because Jiraiya, I think, was my favorite character, and that whole pain arc was just unbelievable. And I think it was Kirk Thornton and myself sitting on Jiraiya's shoulders that entire time. I was big in Naruto. I sat on a lot of shoulders. I was Katsuyu, who was the slug who sat on Lady Tsunadia's shoulder.
Yep.
But so I like sitting on people's shoulders. That's fun.
We do that at home all the time.
Yeah, but the old frog,
Old Granny Frog was really my favorite. Jiraiya, my boy.
I'm trying to remember the name of the book. I did an audiobook a long time ago. I can't remember the name of it now. It's terrible. But I played all the male roles in the book, and one of the roles that I played, they went to these different universes. They traveled to these different universes, and one of the characters was basically a landscape made out of human waste. And and he collected all the sins and everything from the universe, and he was this really happy guy, but he was basically a bubbling pile of poo. And so
what did he sound like?
He was
am here to take your pain.
It was something like that.
That's nice.
I'll think of it while we go for the next question. I'm going to try to look it up so you can find it. It's a great audiobook, and Bryan Cranston was actually the narrator, and Colleen O'Shaughnessy played all of the female roles in it too. So
Yeah.
I'll find it as we're doing this.
That's
so.
awesome. Well, if you don't, and if you end up remembering, I'm coming to your VIP autograph session later, so you'll see me then if you remember it by then.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
When you get to be my age, it gets hard to remember all these things.
I know.
Hi.
Hi.
My question is actually for you, Mary. Any tabletop plans for the new year? I missed you from Critical Role so much.
I miss me
Zara
too.
is my love.
I don't think, I was so grateful to Matt for letting me be on Critical Role as often as I was in Campaign 1. And I think they're so far along in Campaign 2, I would be surprised. Because there's a whole list of people that they want as guests. And so Will and I keep talking about it. But we have our home game, which is Will and myself and Ashley and Steve. And 3 other people, and then Brian Foster is one of our DMs. We have 2 DMs. So we've just started playing. We're playing again in 2 weeks. I'm very excited about. But yeah, as much as I can, it
When
would be great.
scheduling allows, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, but Critical Role is a pretty amazing thing, and all kinds of fun stuff's happening with that. So we'll see.
All right, cool.
I didn't listen to that question. That was just for you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I found the name of the...
This is what happens when I start. It's
And,
blah 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 blah.
yeah.
Wah, wah,
I'm
wah,
sorry,
wah,
what?
wah.
The name of that audiobook was Kashmir the Flying Camel. It's a kid's story, but it's amazing. So if you get a chance, it's Kazmir, Kashmir the Flying Camel.
Kashmir the
Yes.
Flying Camel.
Yes, okay. I knew it would happen. I just had to go through the Rolodex. Hi.
Hi. Thanks for coming. And this is a question for both of you. And I was just wondering, since you guys have been acting for a long time, was there something that you knew or you learned later on that you didn't know beforehand? And is there something that you wish you told yourself in the past to get better in present?
Regret's a weird thing. For me, it's like if you're here now and you're aware of what you should have done back then, you've learned the lesson that you couldn't have learned back then until you learned the lesson to get to the point where you are now. So, and we're here now because of all the success and mistakes that we made. So I often feel like if I changed anything, like if I told myself, when you're young, blah, 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 it would be to take more risks, but I took enough risks that I'm here now. I guess the only thing I would say was that when Laura Bailey asks you, do you want to play D&D? I should have said yes, but I got to later on, and maybe the show would have been different had I done it. So I don't know. I'm a big fan of being where you are and being grateful for where you are. I'm very lucky to have that perspective, I think. But I've worked really hard to get that perspective, if that makes sense. It's just like own your mistakes. I own my failures. I put them up there with my successes because I learned more from my failures than I did from my successes. So I don't know, life's a journey and blah, blah, quote, quote, inspirational, blah, blah,
Yeah, one of my first subjects in my classes at bloomboxstudios.com is called Failure is Success, because I truly live by that too. And there was a time in my life where I would beat myself up because I felt like I was an underachiever. I felt like I was never really good at anything. I was always average at best. And I would constantly beat myself up and compare myself to everyone and everything in my life. And I was miserable. And when I was able to let that go and just come to terms with the fact that I was who I was at that time and I am who I am now because of who I was at that time, it just lifts that burden, and I'm a much happier person as a result of it. That's the only thing that I would say. If I had had that clarity back then, it would have been a lot easier on myself, and it might have been a little more fun at times.
Yeah, but you have it now. That's the thing. Something well earned, I believe, has more impact than something that's just like, I have a nephew. He's amazing, but I don't know how people can be young in this timeline because it's very difficult, and with all the social media and all the negativity and bullying and everything else, and I can see that he's struggling, and I tell him, but it's like, I got the answer, but and he can hear it, but he doesn't listen, and he won't until he figures it out for himself. So there's, it's the end of the Wizard of Oz. Why didn't you tell me from the beginning? Because you had to learn it for yourself. I mean, that's the whole thing about life. If you get the pamphlet, you can still look through it, but until you figure it out on your own, it won't have as much impact on your life, I think.
Well, and that was the other point that I was going to make is
Before
that
I
is before you
interrupted.
so rudely interrupted.
Yes.
Me. Gosh, director, she can't help herself. But I find that having made those mistakes, having gone through those struggles at this age, I feel such a deep sense of gratitude.
Yeah.
When everything does go right, and when everything does go wrong, it's like, I guess I got another lesson to learn because apparently I didn't get it the last 15 times that it presented itself.
Yeah.
So I try to live in gratitude every day, and that was the ultimate lesson of going through all that stuff. So, yeah, just live your life. Don't beat yourself up too much, but know that the struggle is worth it on the other side.
Yeah.
If you're willing to go through, you have to be willing to go through it, though.
Fail. Get out and fail. Fail spectacularly.
Yes.
Revel in your failure because you'll learn so much.
Yep.
So much.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
So there's a question for Steve. I like your role in Cowboy Bebop, obviously, but my favorite role you done was Onizuka from GTO.
Oh, thank you.
So did you know of the manga? Like, did you like the source material, or because there were a lot of faces and a lot of meme-worthy things?
That's a hilarious question because not only did I not know the story before I walked in, we didn't even have a script. We had the original Japanese translation, which doesn't match the lip flaps in the English version.
Yeah.
And they hired me because they knew I was a writer and I could kind of do it on the fly. And so I literally had to ad-lib every single line in every episode of that show, and I have no idea how it came out. So I'm grateful that people enjoyed it. I still haven't watched it, but it was hilarious and really fun and really hard work to record that because I literally was rewriting every single line on the fly.
But you got paid as a writer on that show, right?
No, I did not.
Oh, huh.
They couldn't. That was the
funny thing about that.
Yeah, they couldn't afford writers. That was one of the reasons they hired me. They couldn't afford an ADR writer, and I wrote for a lot of shows. I wrote for Digimon and Trigun. Johnny is here from Trigun. That was one of my writing assignments too. And those shows, they actually paid me well, and I had time to write it, sort of. But this thing, there was no time at all. It was a blank slate with a bunch of words that I had to fit into those lips in that moment. So at this point, I'd love to go back and watch it and read the manga and just see how it stacks up.
Yep. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.
All right,
Happy
you too.
New Year.
Hi.
Hi, this is for Mary. I believe that you were in Standalone Complex.
Yes, I played the major.
My question is, how did you get so dead on from the movie? Because I could not tell it was a different voice actress at all.
Oh, yeah. When I remember seeing Ghost in the Shell, I wasn't voice acting. I was doing on camera at the time, and I remember because I love science fiction and I love animation, and I remember seeing that movie, thinking, "Wow, I would have loved to have been a part of that," which was kind of amazing. And then the actress, I forget her name, Mimi, I think, moved, and they needed someone else. So, and the series had her much more human than the movie did, so we did tweak it a little bit, but I'm lucky. I was born with it. I'm born not with the talent, but with the voice. I had the same vocal timbre as I think Mimi was her name. I'm so sorry that I can't remember. So I got very lucky.
Yeah, because when I watch it, I was watching the movie and then watching the show, I go, that's probably the same actor. And my friend's like, yeah. Then I looked it up and it's like, no.
Yeah.
So you did really good.
She's
one of
good.
my all-time favorite characters.
Oh, thank you. I love her too. She helped me become stronger. Like I'd been playing a lot of victims, and when the minute I stepped into the major's body, basically, I found my strength as a woman, which was pretty fantastic. So I'm always grateful for to have been able to play the major.
Well, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
I was late, so this might have already been asked and answered. But for both of you, what were your favorite and least favorite roles?
We talked about influential roles. And there's two that I didn't mention. I play Coach Brunt in Carmen Sandiego, and to play kind of a big ball buster named Coach Brunt, I'm basically just doing Matthew McConaughey female, which is really fun.
And how she talks to me at night, too.
Yes.
It's hot.
Go to bed.
Yes. More.
Brush your teeth.
Yes.
And also to be a part of the Star Wars universe. I'm the voice director on Resistance, but I got my first entrance into the Star Wars universe with Star Wars Rebels, and to play an evil Governor Price who brought in, one of the first line I got to say was Grand Moff Tarkin, and I was like, what? I'm talking to Peter Cushing, even though it's not Peter Cushing, but it's his character. And then to bring in Thrawn was kind of an amazing part to play. And anything Star Wars, I'm such a huge, we all are, I think. Well, not everybody, I'm learning, but to be a part of the Star Wars universe is something I've dreamed of since I was 11. So
we kind of went through the favorites earlier, but since you mentioned Star Wars, I will mention that just because in 1977 I was an apathetic teenager. I was 17. I'm really old for those of you who are doing the math right now in your head. But I hated everything and everyone. I didn't even go to my own graduation. And you're doing the math too. Wow. Yeah, I'm really, really old. So anyway, I didn't really like anything. I was just one of these angry boys. And that summer in May of '77, this sci-fi movie comes out, Star Wars, and everybody wanted to see it, so I did. And I just remember sitting in the theater and seeing the cruiser come overhead for the very first time in THX sound, which we didn't have sound like that back then. And the theater was rumbling, and I thought, oh my God, I care about something again. This is really cool. And all these years later, to get to work in the Star Wars universe on a show I worked in a lot on the games too, is really cool, but to work on a show like Rebels and actually be able to co-create this character, Zeb, that was based on an original design from the old movies that was never really used. It was the original design for the Wookiee. Zeb was designed after that. To be able to bring a character like that to life and just nerd out for all of those episodes and seasons in an environment of people who really, really love the franchise as much as I did was an incredible thing. It was a boyhood dream come true. And then recently in the movies too, I was in Rogue One and Solo and Rise of Skywalker, and just to see my name in the blue font come across the screen
it's crazy.
At the end of the movie is this surreal experience. It's really amazing. And all of us, we've all been working on the movies for a very long time, but everybody that was working that day on the movie in this room, we were just doing Walla, creatures and stormtroopers dying and stuff in the background. But all of us in that room turned into 8-year-olds again and went, oh my God, it's so cool, we're in Star Wars. To work on something like that is just more awesome than you can possibly imagine. So I'm just so grateful that we get to work on anything of that magnitude. It's pretty cool. Yeah. And then least favorite, I don't really have any least favorites. I've really tried to love everything that I've worked on. The only thing I ever actually walked out on was a show that they just told me was called Project X. And you know this story. Yes. So I walk into the room and they say, all right, so you're a monster and you've got tentacles and you're I'm not going to go after it too deeply, don't worry. But the first person that I was attacking was a little girl. So you can imagine what the context of this show was. And first scene, it was awful. And I said, you know what, guys? I don't feel comfortable doing this. I'm going to pass. And so, no judgment, but I'm going to pass on this. This is not for me. So I just walked out on that. That was just too much because it was really, really abusive.
Hentai.
Yeah.
It's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really the only thing that I really didn't want to do. Other than that, I've screamed my guts out and been super sore for weeks afterwards on lots and lots of shows and games. But if the character is good and it serves the story, I'm willing to do that. So it's okay. I have no problem doing that at all. But thank you very much for that question. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
You too.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for all of that. I mean, unfortunately, we are out of time for this panel, but Steve and Mary will be here signing autographs throughout the day.
Yep. Yes.
But definitely thank you.
We got Photoshop classes at 1. How to do ceramic nails at 4. No. We got photo ops at 1, and then I think we're signing at 2. So come on by. We're in that hall over there.
Be in the hall C right next door.
Yep. Those who bring corn dogs get free things.
Oh.
Don't encourage that. That's going to go wrong so quickly. Thank you for being
here. Thank you again. Big round of applause for Steve and Mary, everybody.